All right. What's going on, guys? It's Tyler from the Keep Pounding podcast. I had some technical difficulties. I had to restart everything, so hopefully it works. My mic would not start. So, this is test number 3. And if it doesn't work, then we will try again tomorrow. Um, so, it's been a crazy day. But welcome to the Keep Pounding podcast, everybody. Again, I'm your host, Tyler. We are doing a 3-part series where we're doing a deep dive into the NFC South, and we are going in depth with every team. Last week we did, or a couple weeks ago, we did the Saints, and today we're going to be doing the Falcons. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into the potential starters on both the offense and defensive side of the ball, and compare that to our team and how do we stack up. So uh, again, I'm gonna go in a couple before I get it deep go into it. We're gonna go over some NFL news and some other things, but the Falcons again. I'll kind of like do a like quick little sneak peek here, but at the beginning of my show last time, I talked about how I didn't think the Saints really stand a shot, and still don't think they stand a shot in the NFC South. But the Falcons, us, the Panthers, and the Bucks, I think it's going to be, a lot of things. There's a lot of potential things that have to happen or can happen for it to be a 3-way um, race to the NFC South championship. But I think it's a possibility. I do think it's a possibility for sure. So we're going to go into a couple of things before we deep dive into this. Okay. So I wanted to give, and I'm going to start off the show just kind of thanking David and Nicole Tepper for they donated over $10 million to the food banks across the North and South Carolina. Their biggest donation yet. The food banks in the Carolinas reportedly have been struggling lately with less public funding, fewer food donations, higher costs, and a lot of people needing help. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to David and Nicole Tepper. I think it's amazing where if you have the capability, no matter how big or small you have, what kind of capability you do have, you should always try to help somebody. And I think it's amazing. I just want to give a shout out to David and Nicole Tepper, their foundation, for doing this. People that were in need of food, they donated, and now those people will be able to be taken care of. So I just want to say God bless to the David and Nicole Tepper Foundation, and thank you guys for doing that and supporting the community. So I just want to give a shout out there. So since I saw you guys last, I kind of want to get into one of the most interesting trades of the NFL offseason so far. So, per Adam Schefter, the Steelers and the Dolphins just agreed to a rare player for player swap. Pittsburgh is sending safety Minka Fitzpatrick to Miami, and in return, they're getting cornerback Jalen Ramsey. Both are 3-time All Pros, so on the surface, it's a high profile deal. Um, for the Steelers, Fitzpatrick hasn't played up to his usual standard the past 2 seasons, especially since signing his extension that he had back in 2022. His play over the last 2 years have not quite been at the level fans had come to expect for him, specifically Steeler fans. And then, on Jalen Ramsey, on the other hand, he's still considered one of the top corners in the league. That said, he comes with a much bigger contract. From the Dolphins' perspective, this looks like a move to get some relief on the cap while still landing a proven defensive back. And the Dolphins most likely will be releasing Tyreek Hill. So the Dolphins are doing these moves specifically for cap-related reasons. Ramsey also gets a raise as part of the deal, an extra $1.5 million this season. So that will bring his total 2025 compensation to $26.6 million. Now, I know there were a lot of brief rumors, and Panther fans on Twitter were hoping that we would land this guy, but realistically, they were not in a position to take on that kind of salary or give up necessary trade value. So that, if you remember, about a week into the Jalen Ramsey, can he be traded that quickly, just faded away. So, but with this trade happening, it brings me up to my next topic that I want to talk about. The TJ Watt issue saga whatever you want to call it. So if you guys remember back in April before the draft, TJ Watt posted this picture on Instagram. At the time, there were reports that he was unhappy with his contract. Obviously, that was confirmed, and it's raised some real questions about whether the Steelers might consider moving on from him. According to Adam Schefter, multiple teams have been discussing whether they could trade for Watt. He skipped minicamp, which I think most people expected. Pittsburgh for now hasn't shown any willingness to deal him, but league interest reportedly is growing. I haven't heard too much after a day or two of this being reported, but especially in the wake of the Jalen Ramsey and Minka Fitzpatrick trade, the rumors of him being possibly traded are going to increase a little bit. GMs are definitely reaching out to the Steelers, seeing if he's available. But again, according to reports, the Steelers haven't expressed any willingness to deal him at all. But what's interesting here is the bigger picture. So Peter Schrager had a tweet recently, a couple weeks ago, where he's talking about the Steelers and how he was saying that based on what they're doing, they're going all in this year. And that does check out. They brought in Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Darius Slay, and now you add Jalen Ramsey. That's why this Watt situation feels a bit off to me. If you're going all in, why wouldn't you make sure your best player is locked in and ready to go? Watt is still a top 5 edge rusher. Not getting a deal done with him doesn't make any sense to me, especially when you're spending money on aging veterans like Jalen Ramsey, albeit he's a really good player. But you're putting all that money into Aaron Rodgers. He played not well at all last season with the Jets. So even though it's only $10 million, it just doesn't make sense. So if the Steelers are making all these moves and don't re-sign TJ Watt, myself and I think the rest of the league will have questions about their offseason decisions. I did tweet about this a few weeks back, but with the Steelers going all in, and if they finish 8-9, 9-8, and don't make a serious playoff push, I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on from Mike Tomlin. Now, for the record, I think that would be a bad move, but based on the moves that they've made in free agency, it's not out of the question. The Steelers did have a decent season last year, but they finished poorly at that 4-game stretch. They lost the last 4 games of the season. I believe they were 10-3, and they're fighting. And at that time, they're fighting for number 1, number 2 seed. But then they followed to 10-7 and played against the Ravens in the wild card playoff game where they lost. So with training camp coming up here in a couple weeks, it'll be interesting to see what the Steelers do with the TJ Watt situation. They could extend him, trade him, which I think is unlikely, or they could let him play out this year and then tag him and trade him next year. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, edge rusher is the number 2, in my opinion, number 2 most important position in football. And you have a top 5 guy who's still young. He's 29. He still produces at a high level. I'm not too sure of any injury situations, but this is someone you have to re-sign. If you're paying, and I can understand Jalen Ramsey's deal was only 1 year, but if you're paying Jalen Ramsey over $26 million a year, you need to pay TJ Watt. It's just so. We'll find out. Time will tell what the Steelers are going to do. I do think they're going to figure things out, but we'll see. We'll see. And then there's been some other trades since I've seen you talk to you guys last. So we have the Darren Waller trade where the Dolphins finalized a trade with the Giants for tight end Darren Waller, who's coming out of retirement. He officially retired July of this year. His last game was January 2024, so it's been a whole season since he had been on the NFL field. When he did play back in the 2023 season, he played 12 games. He had 52 receptions for over 550 yards, 1 TD, 74 targets, and he averaged 10.6 yards per reception. So it wasn't a terrible year in 2023, but when you take a whole year off, are you in football shape? So Waller, I know he dealt with a hamstring injury that they reported during that season back in 2023, which did limit his availability and impact. It was his first year with the Giants after being traded from the Raiders. I know that he retired and was kind of going into music, rap. But if a team reaches out to you and they're like, "Hey, we'll give you," I don't know what his contract is, but if like, "Hey, we'll give you 1 year, $5 million," I'm sure that's more than what he's making for his rap career right now. So he probably put that on hold and came back. I do find this trade kind of confusing, to be honest. I mean, I understand the Dolphins are in need to be getting rid of some of their top tier players for salary cap reasons, but you don't want to I understand you don't want to completely dismantle the offense and have new weapons for Tua, but this is the best they could do at tight end. Uh, I just find it confusing, but we'll see if Waller can contribute still. I just found this kind of like a random. I just thought it was random. You know, I don't know. I feel like the Dolphins are in a mini rebuild right now, and if that's the case, like I really don't think they're going to be competing for a playoff spot. Maybe they keep Tyreek Hill. I don't know. It seems like he's on the way out. We'll see. But they've made, I think, Johnny Smith they got rid of. You got rid of Jalen Ramsey. I'm not too familiar with the Dolphins, but it does seem like they're kind of revamping, not a total rebuild, but revamping a little bit. Okay, so I want to talk about this situation. When I read this, I laughed. So Deontay Johnson, if you guys are familiar with who this is Deontay Johnson, who was on Sports and Suits podcast, where he strangely admitted that he refused to enter a Week 13 game against the Philadelphia Eagles because he felt it was too cold. He was with the Ravens at the time. The reported temperature in Baltimore that day was roughly around, I wanted to say they said it was 41 degrees when I was watching the podcast. And baby, it's cold outside. You can't make this shit up, dude. I, I this really confused me. Like, I really thought, I'm like, is this just knowing the whole Deontay Johnson situation? Is he? It just seems like he's trying to sabotage his career. Um, Later on, or later in the interview on the podcast, Deontay went on to say that he wasn't getting any run plays, passing plays. He wasn't getting anything. It was cold. It was the end of the third, going into the fourth. They were like, "Hey, Deontay, we need you," and he pretty much told him, "Nah, I don't think it's a good idea for me." He said, "My legs are already ice cold, and I didn't want to go out there and put bad stuff on film." And he also admitted being checked out mentally due to his limited role, which contributed to his decision not going out there. And so, if you remember, the Ravens suspended him for a week and then released him after that. So that whole tenure, whenever the Panthers traded Deontay Johnson to the Ravens, and we got, what was it, seventh or something like that? I can't remember. He only had one reception for 6 yards. And then he goes to the Texans after that, off waivers, and played one game and then was released. And then this past offseason in April, Deontay Johnson signed a 1 year, $1.17 million deal with the Browns. So you go from being the number one option for the Panthers in a contract year, and albeit we sucked when he was here. I get it. I get that he wanted to go somewhere where he felt the quarterback could get him the football because Bryce wasn't playing well at that time. But a part of it did feel like that Dave Canales was really trying to get him involved to the game plan. But I don't think it was a coincidence that when Deontay left, Bryce and the offense really started to improve. But if he would have just not gotten in his own way, he could have gotten a bag after last season. He would have had roughly 1,000 yards, and he would have definitely got more than 1.17 million per year for several years. Like, come on. So he could have just stayed, ride it out, but no, he wanted to get traded. So you go to Baltimore, where you aren't the number one option, and just get one reception while you're there. Then you go to the Texans and play one game and get released. I'm honestly shocked that this dude is getting another chance, to be honest with you. This guy is literally doing everything he can not to get paid. Like, he is just, his decision making is got to be the worst in the league. So, one more year with the Browns, contract year. Can he I don't even think he's gonna be the number one guy. I'm not too. I think it was Amari Cooper's on the team. I can't remember, but dude, he played what 7-8 weeks with us. Dude just could have wrote it out and got paid. It was just stupid. So I wanted to bring that up. I saw this and I thought it was kind of funny. Okay, so before we get into the Falcons here, I do want to talk about secondary help. It definitely seems like the Panthers are looking out. I still think there's a strong possibility that we may get a safety and or a corner. I do think secondary is our biggest need depth wise. We could also use another safety, obviously, but I do think corner is more of a need. So I'm going to go over a few people we could potentially target before or even during training camp. So the first one that's out there that hasn't been picked up is Asante Samuel. So this is Asante Samuel. He played for the Chargers last season. He was a second round pick back in 2021. He's only 26. So you're not, there's still, you know, he's still young. He can still develop. He's a little bit on the smaller side. He's 5'10, 180 pounds. He had a limited season last year due to a shoulder injury, and he did struggle when he played. He only played 4 games. He only had 13 tackles and 2 pass breakups. But Samuel was placed on IR in October due to a shoulder injury, but it was later revealed that he had reoccurring stinger symptoms that he eventually had to have surgery for of April of this year. So I know it seemed like he was trying to battle through that and try to get back on the field, but it just didn't happen. So if you're not familiar, stinger symptoms are where it's a combined neck and shoulder injury where you overstretch nerves in the neck and shoulder, and it can cause limited range of motion, pain down the arms, numbness and tingling, weakness. So it seems like surgery could have been just to open things up where the nerves are stretched out at. But it's been reported he's shown interest in returning to the Chargers, but the Chargers defense did play well without him. They ranked 7th in passing defense, so I could see him being signed elsewhere. He has shown flashes of elite coverage skills. He's very quick. He's very instinctive. But again, he struggled last year mightily due to tackling. PFF gave him a 29.5 tackling grade, which is just pathetically poor. In my opinion, he would be more of a depth guy that they would try to develop into a future cornerback 2 role, where maybe after the Mike Jackson's 2-year deal is up, maybe they could have him, developed at that time. But this isn't someone I would think that would challenge Mike Jackson's spot right now. You also have Mike Hilton that's still out there. He is a good slot. He's mainly a slot corner. He formerly played for the Bengals. He's 31, so he does have that veteran leadership presence out there. He has pretty consistent production. He had 58 tackles and 5 pass breakups last year, playing only 15 games. He plays physical and has good coverage, but strictly, again, plays a nickel. So this isn't someone I would think we would go after, but he is out there in the market. I think nickel kind of be. I think a lot of different players are going to play nickel. I think even Trayvon Moore can play the big nickel. So I think we're going to be, if we're getting a corner, we're not going to just get a nickel guy. I think we're strictly going to find someone that has versatility where they can play outside, inside. So, but Mike Hilton is an option. You have Russell Douglas. He's a very physical corner who played for the Bills last year. He had a down year last year where he had no picks. And he allowed 122 passer rating when targeted, which is pretty bad. But the prior seasons, the last couple seasons before the 2024 season, he's had 4 interception seasons. He's had 5 interception seasons. He does really well and plays well in zone schemes, which Evero does run. So that possibly could fit. But last year he played pretty poor. I'm not sure what the circumstances, if there are any from that, but last year was not a good year. You have Stephon Gilmore that's still out there. He's, the aging veteran, but he would definitely, in my opinion, would compete and probably beat out Mike Jackson at CB2. But he's a solid starter. Last season he had 3 picks, 52 tackles, 10 pass breakups in 7 games. That's pretty good. He wants to continue to play, but I think he's just looking for the right situation. I don't think he wants to go through training camp that much, to be honest with you. A couple other ones, you have Kendall Fuller, who's a versatile corner who played for the Dolphins last year and played 11 games. He's had some injury concerns, but he remains a reliable option for teams that need depth. You have Jeff Okuda, who was the former first-round pick the Lions drafted years ago. He recently played for the Texans last year. He's just been his career's just been marred by injuries. He's only 26. I thought he was older, but he's only 26. So could he be a reclamation project? Probably not, in my opinion, but he's an option out there. You have Tre'Davious White, who played for the Bills and the Rams. White has been a high-level corner when healthy, but he's had his issues with injuries as well. The most recently was an Achilles tear. And you have the former Panther James Bradbury that's out there, veteran, that played with their Eagles last year, who could provide some depth. But the last couple of years, his play has been declining. So those are some possibilities that we could of players that we could target in the secondary, which again, it's more depth. Like I'm not, would it be great if like we got a Stephon Gilmore, if we had someone, one of these guys beats out Mike Jackson, cool. I'm not really looking for that right now. I don't think that's really out there right now. I think it's more depth-wise, where if Mike goes down with an injury or J.C. Horn goes down with an injury, you don't have a significant drop-off where the secondary becomes a really big weakness. So I still think that's a possibility that we're going to sign some people or sign a corner by training camp or even during training camp. So training camp has officially been announced. It's in 2 more weeks. The rookies have to report July 21st, and the veterans have to report the next day, the 22nd. Typically, training camp lasts for about 3 to 4 weeks and usually concludes by the end of the preseason. During training camp, I will be making videos reacting to how camp is going, what's being reported, because again, the public podcasters, people that like to go out and just kind of self-cover the training camp won't be out there. So it'll just be the beat writers or the reporters that are actually covering the Panthers. But I'll also be making videos about position battles, like what to keep an eye on for those, what battles to keep an eye on and what players are rising or falling. So again, training camp in a couple weeks, and we'll be having a lot more to talk about. So with that, let's deep dive into the Falcons. So the Falcons, I'll kind of go over an overview real quick. The offense went through some changes from the quarterback position, and the defense for the Falcons last year was not that great. So we're going to go over the offense first. And what I want to do is we're going to talk about specific players. We're going to go quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, offensive line, tight ends. And I'm going to be letting you know, my thoughts about these players. We'll be going over, you'll see on the slides here in a minute, we're going to be, I'll have a green, yellow, or red light on the screen for each player. So green means that there's someone you need a game plan for. They can make a big impact on whether we win or lose. Yellow means I'm unsure, or that player is just an average of that position. And red means that they're not good. They're trash. So we're going to start off with the offense first, and let's talk about Michael Penix. So he was as you guys probably know, he was the former 8th overall pick back in the NFL draft in 2024. If you remember, Atlanta that offseason signed Kirk Cousins before the draft. He started most of last season. Kirk Cousins did, but was benched week 16, and that's where Penix started the final 3 games of the year. So in those 3 games, he had over 58% completion percentage, which isn't that great. He had 775 yards, 3 TDs, 3 picks, 78.9 passer rating, and rushed for 7 times for 11 yards. In the week 16 game, his first game they played against the Giants, he was 19 to 35, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and that was the Commanders. That was the second game. The first game he was 18 to 27 for 202 yards with the pick. The second game was the Commanders, where they lost in overtime, 30 to 24. And then week 18 was the final game, if you remember, where they played against us, the Panthers, where it was a shootout. Both defenses were trash. We had the worst defense in the NFL last season, and I believe the Falcons had the second worst defense in the NFL. So let's talk about Penix. So Penix, he has a big arm, but as of right now, he lacks consistency and accuracy. He was 36% completion percentage when under pressure, which was one of the worst in the league, and 58% total completion percentage. That's not good. There are times where he's very accurate, and other times it wasn't even close. During his 3 starts, he led the league with 10.2 air yards per attempt and ranked 8th in explosive pass rate, which is 16 plus yards. So he has shown he likes to be aggressive throwing the ball down the field. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field. He does have the ability to evade pressure, navigate in the pocket, and run with the football. But this is an area where I feel like he can improve upon in this and continue to develop. Injuries were a concern for him coming out of college. He had 4 season-ending injuries at Indiana. He had 2 ACL tears. He had a shoulder injury, and he had an AC separation. So when I was deep diving into this, I was surprised. I thought for the Falcons to select Penix 8th overall with that history was extremely risky. And also given the fact they just signed Kirk Cousins to a massive contract, I can understand why Falcon fans were shocked about this pick. So I think it is fair to question if Penix can stay durable all season. Again, he only played 3 games last season, so he hasn't played a full season. He will this upcoming season if he can stay healthy. But I think durability is a big question mark. But if Penix can make a big step this season, just like Bryce did in the back half of last season, then I think this team will be difficult to beat. Their offense with a consistent Penix will be tough. So, but as far as how the defense should game plan for him is they need to for him to not be comfortable in the pocket. If you can put pressure on him and make him uncomfortable, it's shown that he is not consistent at all. And again, unless he progresses and he gets better. But as of right now, that's his weaknesses, and a lot for other quarterbacks, but it's a big weakness for Penix right now. So as a defensive coordinator, we got to put pressure on Penix. So now let's go into that's why I have him yellow. Yellow is because I'm unsure. I need to see more. I need to see more data. I need to be able to see how he does during the whole season. This is a guy that I do think can be a franchise quarterback, but he still obviously has to develop. He's got the tools around him. We'll talk about that in a minute. But this is someone that I'm excited to kind of see how he develops. Obviously, as a Panther fan, I don't want him to develop at all. I want him to be absolutely garbage. But it's always more fun when your opponents, especially your division rivals, are not just scrubs. It makes the games a lot more fun to watch. So Penix can make a huge step this year, but we'll see. So let's go into the running backs. So both the running backs, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, are versatile where they're great at rushing the ball in between and outside the tackles, and they both can catch out of the backfield as well. You have Bijan Robinson, who's their primary back. To me, he's a top 5 running back in the NFL easily. And the stats prove it. He's a 3-down back. He's elusive. He has great vision. He's fast. He's physical. He has great stats. But the only knock I see on him when I was deep diving into this is that he hasn't really had a large game for a touchdown. The longest run he's had in his short career so far is 37 yards. So he hasn't shown that he is a home run threat, but he definitely has a capability. Don't get me wrong. He is, however, ranked 4th in explosive plays, which is 10 plus yards. PFF ranked him the second best running back in the NFL. He had over 300 carries for over 1,400 rushing yards, which was 3rd in the NFL. He averaged 4.8 yards per carry. That's kind of what every running back averaged against our defense, it seemed. He had 14 rushing touchdowns. He had 40 missed tackles, which was 2nd in the NFL. So he had 61 receptions, which was 3rd in the NFL. Over 400 yards receiving. He averaged 7.1 yards per reception. He had 2 receiving touchdowns and totaled over 1,800 total yards. And then he had 16 total touchdowns. So this guy is a huge threat. This is someone you have to game plan for. You have to. This is someone you 100% have to game plan for. Can our new defense, specifically our defensive line, help contain him and minimize his impact on the game? That's going to be a true test. You have Tyler Algier, who's a very strong complementary back, more of a downhill physical running back. He's really good at pass blocking. This could be his final year, though, with the Falcons. He's on his last year of his rookie deal. He played all 17 games last year. He had 139 carries for 644 yards. He averaged 4.7 yards per rush, which was 11th in the NFL. His yards after contact was fourth best in the NFL with 3.61. He had 3 rushing TDs, 13 receptions, and 88 receiving yards. So Atlanta has a very, very strong running game, which I think they will heavily utilize to better help Penix and take some of the pressure off of him. So far, the Panthers' defensive game plan should be contain the run and put pressure on Penix. So if you can contain the run and minimize the impact that Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier have, which is a very hard task because you have to account for them not just running the ball, but also receiving. But if you can contain and make the Falcons one-dimensional and you put pressure on Penix, that should be the Panthers' defensive game plan, as far as a overview of what it should be. Now let's get into the receivers. So you have the Falcons' number 1 wide receiver, Drake London. He's a cornerstone of the offense. He has elite production. He had 100 receptions for over 200 yards and 9 TDs. London, whenever Penix played his 3 games, London averaged 82.5 yards per game. So if he did that for a whole season, he would have over 1,400 yards. Drake London, 6'4", 215 pounds. He's very physical with a big catch radius. He can run the full route tree well. He can line up outside or even in the slot. He's an average run blocking wide receiver. He doesn't have top end speed compared to Darnell Mooney that we'll talk about in a minute, but this is a complete number 1 wide receiver that J.C. Horn has to account for. And again, will Evero allow J.C. Horn to line up against their top guy, or will he stay with the his coverage scheme? So that's something I'm interested to see. I think they obviously view J.C. Horn as a top cornerback in the NFL because they paid him a huge contract. Utilize him, and in past videos we talked about J.C. Horn's man coverage stats. He's a shutdown corner, dude. So Evero needs to allow his top corner to travel with their top wide receiver. So let's get back into Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's wide receiver number 2. He's more of a speed guy. He's 5'11", 175 pounds. He did sign a 3-year, $39 million contract last offseason. Again, the number 2 wide receiver behind Drake London, Mooney was able to rack up 64 receptions for almost 1,000 yards, falling just short due to a shoulder injury that sidelined him for the season finale. He averaged 15.5 yards per catch, 5 TDs. Mooney has had pretty consistent conduction with 6 games where he had 70-plus yards. He is Atlanta's deep threat wide receiver. He's a reliable catcher, good hands. He complements London very well. Penix's 3 games played, Mooney averaged just over 5 receptions for 78.7 yards per game. Due to his small size, he does struggle a little bit against press coverage, and he isn't the best run blocking wide receiver in the world. So there are some limitations with that, obviously, but this is someone you have to account for because Mooney can take get past receivers and corners with his speed, but then also you have Drake London that you have to account for as well. So receivers for the Atlanta Falcons are pretty good. You also have Ray McLeod III. He had a breakout season last year, setting career highs where he was in all 17 games, but he started 13. He had over 60 receptions for 686 yards that nearly doubled his previous career totals. He had 1 touchdown and averaged 11.1 yards per reception. He's very versatile where he can be used as a kick punt returner specialist, and he's very explosive. As Atlanta's punt kick returner, he had 14 kickoff returns for 361 yards, where he averaged 25 yards per return. He's had costly fumbles, so that's a big knock on him. But overall, the Falcons wide receiver group is very good, above average in my opinion. They're going to test our secondary, but I still believe a lot rides on Penix this year. If he can take a big step forward, this will be a tough offense to stop. Now let's talk about their tight ends. So you have Kyle Pitts. If you remember, back in 2021, the Falcons drafted Kyle Pitts with the fourth overall pick, and he really hasn't lived up to that pick. Pitts is an athletic freak, especially for a tight end. Hasn't been the tight end the Falcons would have hoped. He has all the tools, but for whatever reason, he hasn't been that NFL dominant tight end. This past season was a step in the right direction, considering how the last several seasons have gone. The start of last season, he was doing extremely well. He was averaging 76% of the offensive snaps. One of his better games was in week 8, where he caught 4 passes for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. But for some reason, after that game, he played just 53% of the offensive snaps. And then that's where he averaged just 20 yards per game for the rest of the season. So I'm unsure as to why there was such a drop off in production. I'm not sure if it was coaching. There was no injury reports. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But what he averaged, what his career or his 2024 stats that he from last year, he did play all 17 games. He had 80 targets, 47 yards for over 600, 47 receptions for over 600 yards, and he averaged 12.5 yards per reception, which was the 4th best in the NFL at tight end. He also had 3 touchdowns. So Kyle Pitts, again, someone you have to account for, but he hasn't shown that dominant tight end. And I think if he could do that, I think the Falcons could be extremely scary, especially if Penix does well. So I put yellow because he really hasn't shown that he can be a real threat. Obviously, he can be. He just hasn't put it together for whatever reason. So I don't know what that reason is. I'd have to really talk to like a Falcons podcaster or someone that's really familiar with the Falcons to really understand why this is the case or what they feel like is the reason the case is. But he's just someone that hasn't put it together yet. So let's talk about the offensive line. So this is a very good offensive line, one of the better offensive line units in the league. They rank 6th in the NFL, where they average 369 yards per game, and 9th in rushing, where they average 127 yards per game. With a 30% opponent pressure rate, that was 5th lowest in the league. So they are great at pass blocking, run blocking, and they don't allow a lot of pressure on the quarterback, which is vital for Penix, right? So if Penix, he has all the tools. He has a great offensive line. He has a good running game. He has several good receivers. He has a good, decent tight end. And for the Falcons, a huge key for their success was how healthy they were all last season as far as the offensive line. So let's go into it. So you have left tackle Jake Matthews. He's going into his 12th season. Very durable left tackle. He's on a 144 game starting streak. Last season, he allowed 5 sacks, 32 pressures with over 1,000 snaps. He can struggle in pass protection at times, but this is a very good left tackle. You have left guard Matthew Bergeron. Last year was his 2nd year in the league, and he played well for them at left guard last season. He showed improvement from his rookie season, particularly in run blocking. He allowed 3 sacks and 12 penalties last year. He can be a grabber at times. He didn't allow a single pressure while playing against the Panthers. But he's a good, decent left guard. You have the center, Ryan Nuzul. He had a breakout 2024 season last year, stepping into the starting role after Drew Dahlman was sidelined with an ankle injury, where he went to the Bears this offseason. But Ryan is good at both at pass and run blocking. He allowed just 1 sack and had 7 penalties. But after performing well last season, he signed a 2-year, $9.5 million contract with $6.5 million guaranteed. You have right guard Chris Lindstrom. He earned his 2nd consecutive Pro Bowl. He had really high PFF grades. He had an 88.5 overall grade, which was second for right guards. He had an 84.7 pass blocking grade, which was ranked fifth for right guards. And then he had an 89.2 run blocking grade, which ranked second. And last season, he only allowed one sack and only 3 penalties. So very good from left to right guard. Very, very good offensive line. But when you get to the right tackle, to me, the right tackle, Caleb McGarry, to me, he is the weak link of the offensive line. Caleb can definitely struggle in pass protection. He allowed 11 sacks last year. He gave up 36 pressures, and the sacks that he allowed, he accounted for 55% of the team's total sack count for the season. So he gave up 11 sacks. The Falcons only gave up 20 total. So definitely the weak link of the group. He is a free agent after this upcoming season. So if his play doesn't improve, I can see them moving on from him and going out in free agency next offseason. The Falcons going out and either drafting or signing a new right tackle. But the rest of the group is under contract up to 2027. So can our new and improved defense challenge this offensive line and put pressure on Penix? That's going to be interesting to see, because if we can put pressure on Penix, again, that's going to make it more likely that he's going to play poorly based on his under pressure stats last season. Penix, again, has all the necessary tools to be successful. So we'll find out this year if he's got the potential to be a franchise QB. So that is the offense for the Falcons. Now let's go into the defense. So the Falcons defense was ranked second worst in the NFL, right behind the Panthers. And just like us this offseason, they needed to address their defensive needs. Their pass rush was horrible last year with very low sack production. They run a 3-4 scheme under Jimmy Lake, but they like to disguise their 3-4 looks and shift to hybrid or nickel packages, at least the front seven. And they play a lot of coverage and very little man coverage, just like Evero. So, again, just like us, they went out and got a few players. One of them is left defensive end, Morgan Fox. So Morgan Fox, with the release of Grady Jarrett, the Falcons definitely needed to add to the defensive line group along with their poor play. So you have the Falcons acquired Fox this offseason, who will be a rotational guy for the defensive line, in my opinion. He signed a 2-year contract worth $8.5 million. He played for the Chargers last season. He was in all 17 games, but only started 3. He had 27 total tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 3.5 sacks, 6 QB hits, and 1 pass defended. So that's not bad production for a rotational piece for the Chargers. And I think he will be for the Falcons as well. I think he'll be a decent rotational piece. I think Morgan Fox used to play for the Panthers too, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have Ruke Arororo. That is how you say it. I looked it up. So Ruke is going into his second season. He was drafted in the 2024 draft in the second round. He played 8 games. He had minimal snaps when playing early on. He was inactive the first 4 games, saw reserve action the following 4. Week 8, he had an ankle injury against the Bucks, and he went on IR after that. He came back the final 4 games of the season. His best game was against us, of course it was, where he finished 5 tackles and 1 QB hit. But again, based on his limited playing time last season, I'm not worried about him impacting the game, given our strong offensive line. So I gave him a red light, trash. Um, there's nothing that I saw on tape or looked up where this is someone I need to be concerned about. So that's the nose tackle, Ruke. And then you have the right defensive end, David Onyemata. He played for the Saints for 7 seasons. Then he signed with the Falcons a couple years ago, back in 2023. He played 17 games last year. He started 14. He had 34 total tackles, 3 sacks, and 1 pass defended. He's durable. He did have an ankle injury last year and missed some practice, but didn't miss any playing time. In my opinion, he's an average defensive line. I believe our offensive line can contain him and have him be a non-factor. But that's one of the defensive linemen. Now let's go into the linebackers. So you have edge Leonard Floyd. So if you recall, Leonard Floyd used to play for the 49ers, and he was signed by the Falcons this offseason. He signed a 1-year, $10 million contract. Lloyd still produces by getting to the quarterback, which the Falcons obviously desperately needed. Last year when he played for the 49ers, he played all 17 games. He had 8.5 sacks, 42 combined tackles, and 16 QB hits. So not terrible. He will be a good veteran to have in the locker room to help with the young rookies develop. Um, Floyd can struggle on run defense at times. The question I have is, can Floyd get the same production with Atlanta without having a star defensive line on the other side like they did when he played alongside Nick Bosa? So that's something I'm interested to see, because it definitely helps when you have a stud defensive line unit, stud defense. So we'll see if he can get those same numbers. Then you have the rookie, the weak side linebacker, James Pierce Jr. So this past draft, the Falcons went back into the first round, number 26 overall, and drafted James Pierce from Tennessee. In that trade, the Falcons gave up their 2026 first round pick. 2025, this past draft, they traded their second and their seventh round picks, but also received a third round pick. So coming into the draft, he was one of my favorite edge rushers coming into this prior draft. He's a pure pass rusher, but can be a reliable, can be he can be a really bad run defender. I forgot the word I'm trying to use, but he's a liability. Sorry, not real. He's a liability in run defense. He pretty big. He has decent size. He's 6'5", 245 pounds. He last season for the Tennessee, he had 38 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, one forced fumble, one fumble recovery. He had 55 total pressures. He had a 23% pass rush win rate, which was the second best in the FBS, and then he ranked third in the FBS with 43 quarterback hurries. So again, this is someone that can get to the quarterback. Again, he's a liability in run defense. Can he develop and get better in that? Absolutely. But this is someone that could grow into someone we aren't going to be happy to see 2 times a year. So I need to see him play. That's why I have him on yellow, but I think this guy can be a stud for sure. Okay, then let's go into the inside linebackers. So we have uh, Caden Ellis. Caden had a standout 2024 NFL season. He's one of the cornerstone. Uh, he's a cornerstone of the team's defense. He had 17 games played. He had a career high 151 tackles, 85 solo, ranking 6th in the NFL and 2nd in the NFC. He was the only player league-wide to record over 150 tackles and 5 sacks. He had 16 QB hits, 43 pressures, which led the team, 8 tackles for loss, a pick, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. He played damn near every defensive snap. He played 99% of them. Ellis led the NFL with 10 double-digit tackle games and had a 20.3 pass rush win rate, third amongst defenders with 150-plus pass rush snaps. He had a 13.2% missed tackle rate and has weak coverage skills, but excels as a run defender and pass rusher. So this is someone that can definitely impact and someone that you have to game plan if you're an offensive coordinator. This guy is really, really good. He's someone that you want to try to mismatch, when passing during passing downs. But this is someone that can get to the quarterback and that can stop the run. The other inside linebacker is Divine Diablo. So he signed with the Falcons in March as a free agent from the Las Vegas Raiders. He signed a 2-year, $14 million contract with the Falcons, with $8 million guaranteed in the first year. He's very fast and athletic. He plays safety in college, but transitioned to linebacker when he got drafted by the Raiders. He had 63 total tackles last year, 4 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 4 QB hits, And he had a PFF overall grade of 57.3, which ranks 64th out of 84. So not that great. um, he had a 17.1% missed tackle rate, which was pretty bad. He had 10 pressures on 57 rushing snaps, so he had 17% pass rush win rate. His coverage skills were solid. He fits Ulbricht's scheme where he uses fast, more athletic defenders. So this is someone that has got speed, but he can be a liability when it comes to missed tackling. So I gave him a yellow. And then let's talk about their top pick, their first round pick this year, edge Jalen Walker. This is someone that a lot of Panther fans thought we were going to draft this past draft, including myself. So Jalen was picked number 15 overall in this past NFL draft. He's a very versatile edge rusher. You can use him in a lot of different packages: edge, QB spy, inside linebacker. He's very versatile. He's 6'1", 243 pounds. He's small frame for an edge rusher. He has explosive speed. He runs a 4.5. He has great agility and pass rush ability. He has the right attitude and will probably become a leader in that locker room after a few seasons. I think you'll see the C on his chest in a couple of seasons. But again, due to his small frame, he could struggle on run defense. But this is a guy that could cause problems for us as he develops. Last season for the Georgia Bulldogs, he had 6.5 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, and 34 pressures. So, they got two young stud rookies this past draft at edge, and can they grow and develop together? This will be interesting to watch and see, but that's something our offense needs to take into account for. Now let's talk about the secondary. So you have the left side cornerback, AJ Terrell. AJ secured a 4-year, $81 million contract extension in August of last year. He was ranked the second highest paid corner in the league last year, but with new contracts this offseason, he's now ranked 6th in the league right now. He has 50 solo tackles, 66 combined, 6 pass deflections, 2 picks. He had a 69.4 overall grade, ranking 55th among 223 cornerbacks. He can play physical and does well in man coverage. He has a speed. He runs a 4.2. He's a very good open field tackler. Terrell was targeted only 53 times last season, the second fewest among NFC cornerbacks with 400 plus coverage snaps. He had a 20.8% open target rate, which was 4th lowest among NFL cornerbacks with 300 snaps. So this is a really good corner that whether it's Adam Thielen, Xavier Legette, or Ted McMillan, this is someone that is going to give them a little bit of a hard time. So I gave him a green. He's someone that you need to game plan for, someone you have to take into account if you're an offensive coordinator. But I do think our wide receivers can produce against this guy, but it's someone you need to account for sure. And then on the other side of the field, your right side cornerback, Mike Hughes. So Mike is 30. He started 15 games last year. He missed 2 due to a neck injury. He's a smaller corner, but very tough and very physical. He's really good in run defense and coverage. He is a very reliable tackler. He had a 71.9 PFF grade, which isn't bad. He had 66 total tackles last year with 4 tackles for loss, 6 passes defended, but no picks. So this is someone that I felt like is, average corner. But someone, again, I think whether it's Adam Thielen, Ted McMillan, or XL, I think they could definitely produce on Mike as well. Jesse Bates. So Jesse is their strong safety. Last year, he had 55 solo tackles, 65 combined. He had 2 picks, including a 55-yard pick 6. He has really good ball skills where if he is in a position for an interception, he will come down with it. Bates can play both free safety and strong safety. He had a career high 16 missed tackles last year. He was just average last year in all categories, run defense and coverage. To be fair, the overall defense was obviously horrible. So we have to take that into account. When he played for the Broncos, where he was an all-pro, he was someone you had to account for on the defense. And with the new additions the Falcons have made this offseason, I think you will see a better season by Bates. He's 31, so that's why I have him at yellow, because could it just be him getting older? Or was it more that the Falcons defense was just bad overall? So this is someone that I still think that can play really at a high level. But again, is it just him getting a little older, or is it just the fact that the overall defense was really bad? So that's why I have him at yellow. And then last but not least, our dear friend Jordan Fuller. So, if you guys remember, Jordan Fuller played for the Panthers last season. He played 9 games for us last season, and then he was sidelined due to a hamstring injury in the middle of the season. He was an addition made last offseason where Evero was getting a lot of former players he coached to play defense for him. I believe we picked him up from the Rams where he was okay, I believe, when he played there. But man, this guy was trash for us last season. It seemed that he was getting beat deep almost every game. He was okay in run defense, but in coverage, he was a big liability, as you all probably are very aware of. Again, I understand that our defense was trash last season, but he was a big reason as to why. This guy allowed a perfect passer rating while targeted. Perfect, which was worse than the NFL. He averaged allowing over 15 yards per reception, which was 17th worst. So I have him at red because this Jordan Fuller is trash, man. Our receivers should eat when he's on the field. So I am shocked that the Falcons picked him up. There must have been nobody else out there. The Falcons need to be on the phone looking for safety help just like us, because this guy ain't it. So if he's your starting safety, okay. Thank you. I don't know. Thank you, I guess. But so those are the starters for both offense and defense. Again, offensively, they're really good. I just think a lot is going to be determined. Again, how well the offense plays this coming up season is going to be predicated on how Penix does. He has all the tools: strong offensive line, strong running game. He has receivers. He has weapons. Can he just deliver? Again, he played only 3 games last season, so he's kind of still in his rookie year as far as playing time. And, again, Bryce Young didn't play well his rookie year, and he played poorly the first half of last year. So they need to make sure they give him time, be patient with him. And I think this guy can be a franchise quarterback if he develops and plays well at a consistent level. But he needs to I think if you see him start to calm down and the game slows down for him, I think he can be very, very good. And I hope he isn't, but I think he can be. He's got the tools. Defensively, there's a lot of new weapons. I still think it's going to be average at best defense, very similar to us. I just think our weapons and who we picked up are better than who they picked up. So I still think defense is going to be their weak link. I still think defensive line is going to be a weak link. I think as far as us offensively, we need to make sure that we're running the ball down their throats with Chuba and Rico Dottle. And again, just like Penix, doing that, have a good, strong running game where you can take pressure off Bryce, and then that will open things down the field. So I think this will be a really good, fun matchup when we do play them this upcoming season. I think it's going to be a good test for us, but I do think we have the ability to beat them. And I think they have the ability to beat us. I think it just a lot's going to depend on, how the players execute and coaching. So it'll be interesting to see. So I do think the Falcons do have the capability of making a run for the NFC South championship this season, but I just don't think that they will. I still think that us and the Bucks have the upper hand, but again, you don't know everything. If you have a good quarterback and the quarterback's playing well, you're going to win a lot of football games. So a lot of eyes are going to be on Michael Penix to see how does he play this upcoming season, and is it going to be consistent, and can the offensive coordinator play to his strengths? So I think he's mobile enough. I think you should use his legs a little bit, but also let him get comfortable out there too. So If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel. Again, I want to be able to go live at least once a week. And next week, we're going to be doing episode 3 of the How Do We Stack Up series, where we're going to be talking about the Bucks. So, and then any and all news that comes out from now till then, I'll go over as well. But training camp in 2 weeks, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to deep dive into the position battles, how players are doing out there. Obviously, you're going to have preseason coming up. You're going to have joint practices. So lots to cover coming up soon. But I wanted to create a series where I just think it's fun. The more you know about an opponent, especially your division rivals, the more fun the games are, and the more that you can understand the game too, and the more that the game just becomes more interesting because okay, I know these players, I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses. As our coaches, both offensive and defensive coaches, are they based on what I see as far as the Falcons' strengths and weaknesses and ours? Are they playing and putting their players in a position to be successful? Which I think our coaches will. I think Evero is the big question mark coming up, but with better players on the defensive side of the ball, better defensive line, getting Derek Brown back. Again, Evero was had our defense, I think, top 5 in scoring a couple of seasons ago, where Bryce Young was a rookie that year. So Evero can definitely be a good defensive coordinator, but it is a what have you done for me lately league. And lately, Evero was the worst in the league. So if he doesn't make a quick turnaround, he'll be out of here, in my opinion. So hopefully he can turn around. And, again, Bryce Young, if you have a good running game, good defense, you're going to win a lot of football games. So if Bryce Young can make that step and continue to play the way he was playing the back half of the season and play like he did against the Falcons consistently, I'm going to stand by what I said before. We're winning the division. If Bryce Young can play like that pretty much damn near every time, you have offensive line that's back that was really well, that played really well last year. And then you add Rico Dottle to that, you add T-Mac to that. And now on the defensive side of the ball, you're getting Derek Brown. Hopefully he can stay healthy. You're getting Bobby Brown in the middle. You add Travell Wharton. You're adding DJ Wanham. Hopefully that he stays healthy. The 2 rookies, both Nick Scordon and Princely. You have Pat Jones. I think there's a lot of potential there. So, but there's still a lot of question marks. So, again, thank you guys for watching. And again, if you haven't already, again, like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are about the video. What did you like? What you not like? What do you think as far as ranking? Who would you rank best to worst in the division right now, based on what you know? But yeah, hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.